Welcome back to the Drive-In Asylum double feature, and we hope that you really enjoyed watching The Suckling, our first feature of tonight. And this was the first time I ever saw it. I am blown away. I hope all of you were too.
It was the furniture, huh?
The lamps.
The lamps. A lamp movie.
And Big Mama and her Beetlejuice stripes.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. You know, I would have liked the movie even more if they could have gotten Doris Roberts for that part, but
yeah,
maybe they didn't have the budget for her. They clearly had her in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess what I didn't want to say before folks who hadn't seen the film watched it is that it's about somebody who goes to a brothel to get a coat hanger abortion. They flush the fetus down the toilet, it mutates in the sewer, and engulfs the house in a giant placenta to kill everyone. I mean, this is something you needed to be surprised by just watching the film yourself.
Well, it looks like some people in the chat still have like about 11 minutes to go before it's over. So maybe we should. What else can we talk about for 11 minutes?
Well, one thing I'll say, that trailer for The Oracle amazed me. I'm even more excited now about seeing that film. And the fact that it had a Christmas tree in it, I'm a Christmas horror fanatic. So I'm excited to see this if it's truly a low-key Christmas movie.
It is a low-key Christmas movie, and has a lot of. It lives up to the stuff you saw in the trailer. It's also a bad fashion movie. If you like bad fashions, holy cow, this movie's going to ultra deliver for you. It feels like an Italian movie a film mirage movie made in New York City. So that's high praise, as we say.
Yeah, this is going to be the first time watch for that too, and I'm very excited. I haven't really seen a lot of Roberta Findlay's films, to be honest.
Oh man, you're gonna do a deep dive after this. You're like, bring on lurkers after this. They're all in this world. Tenement's also really good. A movie that she claims was based on her childhood, which is a really upsetting movie. Yeah, it's like a Death Wish 3 style home invasion movie. Yeah. So yeah, this is, and obviously you've seen Snuff, but I think that was
I think she was more of a camera operator on those films because she did that too.
Yeah,
she could run the camera. So she was surprisingly, she really didn't like people referring to her as a feminist. Or trying, not referring to her as a feminist really, but like holding her up as an example of a woman filmmaker, because she felt like she was just doing a routine job. Like she wasn't making any kind of statement with these films, and that any statement that was in the films was just in the mind of the person who was interpreting it.
Yeah. And she often makes fun of her films and talks about how much she doesn't like it. Wow, some folks didn't really like it. Jody said this was the worst piece of shit I've ever watched.
That is the limit.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the limit.
I also saw that Stephanie Saxon, hello. Speaking, we were talking about Jalo during this, and I know she's a big Jalo fan. So
Stephanie Sack, she's my friend. We co-programmed a double feature together last month, Twisted Fairy Tales double feature of The Company of Wolves and The Lore.
Ooh,
it was a blast.
That's awesome.
We served gingerbread cookies for The Company of Wolves, and Stephanie had the idea to make bubble wands to pass around at The Lore, so that people could blow bubbles in the theater during the first performance of The Two Mermaids.
This is probably a good segue to get into what is it that you do at Facets? We could talk a little bit about that before we go into the Suckling.
Sure. So my role at Facets is community engagement manager. It's mainly a development role. I help a lot with fundraising and event planning, and feel like I'm wearing many different hats at that job, actually. And also, during the pandemic, the door opened for all of our staff to submit ideas for our public programming. And so people across our staff have had opportunities these last couple of years to program some of our public screenings, which has been one of the most exciting parts of the job, as you can imagine. And some of the most exciting programming experiences, aside from Twisted Fairy Tales, in October, I organized a horror pop-up market with 13 vendors, local vendors, independent retailers, visual artists, and zine makers, who all demonstrate a love of horror and horror films. And that coincided with a triple feature of Forbidden World, Chopping Mall, and Night of the Comet. And I still don't know how, but I was able to convince Jim Wynorski and Kelly Maroney to appear for live Q&As. Oh my gosh, Kelly Maroney is so lovely. And just screening Chopping Mall and Night of the Comet and talking with her between those two films. Such a lovely human. The audience questions were very silly, but in the most wonderful way. And she responded to each and every one of those questions so thoughtfully. I think my favorite was, if there was a battle between the Killbots of Chopping Mall and the zombie stock boys in Night of the Comet, who would win? And Kelly thought about it long and hard and kind of went through it as logically as she could, and ultimately concluded it would be the zombie stock boys, because she thought that the Killbots were really dumb and really inept at killing people. So yeah, it was a really, really fun experience. I've got the film programming bug. I love programming films for the public.
You've got something exciting coming up soon at a different venue. Can you talk about it, or is it
Oh,
too
of course.
soon?
No, I can totally talk about it.
I got you into that before asking.
No, it's all right. I mean, it's exciting because this is going to be a 10-film monthly screening series starting this March in Chicago at the Leather Archives and Museum, which is a really, really phenomenal museum if you've never been there. And they focus on leather and fetish and BDSM and kink culture in their exhibits. And I pitched an idea to them earlier this year of a screening series kind of focusing on those topics. And I think we even landed on some final titles, as long as the screening rights are still available, where I believe they are. So we're going to likely screen Cruising with Al Pacino, and Pleasure, which is a 2021 film that I don't think got released in the US until 2022, about a young woman who travels from Sweden to California to try to make it in the porn industry. Really incredible film by Ninja Thyberg. And I think I'll leave the tasty morsels at that. And it's going to be 8 additional films, some of which are not quite finalized yet, including a horror film in October. I've got one in particular in mind, and the Leather Archives and Museum agrees it's the one to do, as long as we can get the rights. So stay tuned.
Fingers crossed.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're very excited that you were able to come here and be on the show tonight, especially since I did introductions to a couple of movies in December. You guys might remember it was for Killer Santa double feature at Facets in Chicago. I wasn't able to actually go there, but I recorded something on camera, and I can't wait until one day I can actually show up there.
I will look forward to welcoming you. And in the meantime, all we can do is pre-recorded intros. They were amazing. The audience loved it.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, so I don't know. Should we start talking? We have to start talking about the suckling sooner or later. So.
Yeah. I somehow was able to eat a salad during it, so I really think my stomach has achieved like iron levels of. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, it was right when the placenta went over the house, and I was like, nah, this steak salad, not the best idea. Yeah, the little suckling guy. But
that was a really good monster suit, I have to say.
I adore that creature.
I think it's really good.
The eyes are so expressive. I love the articulation on the lips. It's just a really, really wonderful creature. And kind of going back to our conversation before the suckling, that monster looks fake, but I think it's such a marvelous design. And I just embrace it and love seeing it on the screen as much as possible.
Yeah, they could have easily created something like that with CGI today that would have been more accurately looked like a mutant fetus, but it wouldn't have been half as exciting because they didn't have to. They had to design it, but they didn't have to actually build it, and someone didn't have to get inside of it. By the way, that was Michael Gingold, former editor of Fangoria magazine and author of What's his book called? the horror movie ad book.
Oh, Ad Nauseam?
Ad Nauseam.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Ad nauseam, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, those books are gorgeous.
They sure are. And
I like movies that have puppet style looking monsters. As you can tell, you can see one in the beginning of the trailer for this next one, that head coming through the glass.
Yeah.
They just work for me. I just like it. And maybe it's because I like Return of the Living Dead so much, and I like Tarman so much, that just when they get kind of like EC Comicsy, kind of
Yeah.
exaggerated, cartoony looking monsters, I really love them.
Same here.
And I agree with Mike. Very The Intruder Within kind of monsters. That's up my alley.
yes. Oh my God, that's such a good call. That never even occurred to me. It does look like The Intruder Within.
And I saw that John said it earlier. The end really feels like a racquetball court. Like they just shot the instead of an asylum. They're like, well, I guess a racquetball court looks like an asylum, and it worked. That's fine.
Maybe they just filmed that scene during the gym break.
Yeah, everybody. They were in like the community college of Brooklyn. They're like, can we just use the racquetball court for 5 minutes? Don't get blood everywhere.
It was the recess at the asylum.
Yeah. I like the last scene with the guys trying to look in the window, freaking out, and blood's just spraying everywhere while she's comatose on the steps, and this baby has come back. It's intense.
There was
they should
no
play that movie in health. They should play it in health classes. That's what I think.
There was no control in that asylum. They were just all like, since when do they let them wander around?
Oh.
And also,
it's like Alone in the Dark. It's the same kind of therapy that Donald Pleasance had. Like, I'm going to hug all my patients, and I'm just going to let them walk around, and it doesn't work out.
And going to the place of the stance this film may or may not have on abortion. I don't think the film has a stance at all. I don't think it's that deep. I wouldn't say it's pro-life or pro-choice. I think it's just a film with wacky ideas and it runs with it. Yeah.
It's kind of like an alligator. If you flush the baby alligator down the toilet, it climbs back up.
That's true.
In this case, it's yeah. It doesn't break out of the sidewalk like alligator, though, which
by the way, Chicago movie, kind of.
Really?
Set in Chicago, but not filmed in Chicago.
Yeah.
They always try and make it a different city in the ad campaign for Alligator. I think in New York, they made it look like New York.
Wow.
New York's got to steal everything. Yes, we know you're New York, okay?
To it, though.
Anyway, I was impressed by this movie. I thought it was actually very well done. It was not anywhere near as cheap as I thought it was going to look whenever I did some reading up on it. And of course, it's a low budget direct to video, almost. It never really had a theatrical release, even though it played a couple of different theaters, at least one in New York City, and probably a couple other places on 42nd Street or something may have screened this, but mainly this was a direct-to-video release. So it looked a lot better than I thought it was going to be. They used a lot of paneling. We all kept looking for a Pittsburgh potty in that house. It looked like it was filmed in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. This looked like my old basement a lot. Like it had that wood panel kind of grungy feel of the old house, so I appreciate it. It felt the comfiest whorehouse you've ever been in. A lot of couches.
I wanted to know why the Suckling had like lobster claws.
I don't know if I have an answer to that question. Maybe it was just the toxic waste.
Is there a stage in fetal development where we have lobster claws?
To be honest, I don't know.
There could be.
Yeah.
We have gills at one point. We could have lobster claws.
It was very much like looking at going back to health class, looking at pictures of fetuses, being like, I don't like that. I don't like how that looks, and which is a horror thing all in itself. So.
Oh my goodness! And all of the shots of coat hangers throughout the film. Nobody could hear it, but Bill and I were making jokes about no wire hangers.
It's like Annie in Halloween. Subtle, isn't he? It's like, oh, yes, there are coat hangers all over this whorehouse. Forgot about my vodka-soaked cherries. There we go.
Oh, nice. Getting that drink ready early.
Sorry, I got a head start.
No, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad you like this, Bill. It's got something to it. That's why I like it. It's different. I do like that crushed gold sofa. John brought that up. It looks comfy. Good sleeping sofa.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's just a creative spark in this movie that you don't see in every film. There was a vision, and I think that there was some largely successful execution of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the weird thing is, like, so many, and I don't mean to bag on modern movies all the time, but when you have a high concept movie, a modern one, generally the ending never gets stuck. It feels like it's like, oh, that's a really cool idea, and then you don't know where to go. This has, holy shit, this has an ending. You know what I mean? It's like the ending.
We haven't even talking about that impossible transformation back into a tiny creature.
Yeah.
To dive back into its mom.
Yeah.
Super Freudian.
Never seen a movie where a mutant baby shrinks and goes back into its mother's womb.
Actually, that's not Freudian. It was another psychiatrist who had the returning to the womb theory. I think it was Jung. The return that was everybody's instinct was just to want to return to that environment where nothing was expected of you.
And I hope everyone was satisfied that horrible orderly at the end was killed by a tentacle reemerging.
Ew, that was disgusting.
To be honest, I forgot about it. Maybe I deliberately buried it in my memory because it's truly awful. But I'm really glad that character died.
It reminded me of that scene in Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween. But depending on what version you watch, the reason that Michael escapes from the asylum is these two like redneck or orderlies who are raping one of the female inmates. And of course, a Rob Zombie movie with redneck characters in it. I know that's hard to believe, but there we go.
I guess people talk like at some places. I don't know where, but he's found them every time. Good work.
I like his movies, like, you know, I liked his redneck shtick, but like he just tried to. It's in every one of his movies, or at least it was. I haven't seen The Munsters.
It's not really in Lords of Salem, which I really like.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really dig Lords of Salem. We say that on the show at least once a month.
Do you?
Yes.
Becca really likes it. She watches it often. She enjoys it.
I think that one and Devil's Rejects are probably my favorites of his.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Yeah, those have got to be two of his best.
Oh, I like the thing I do like about Lords of Salem is it's not a Toby Hooper remix. You know what I mean? He was like,
yeah.
Man, Jody is really upset about this movie. This is a lot.
Oh, I am genuinely sorry.
Jody. Jody really disliked the Suckling.
Also, I will say, she said people are smoking in a house without opening windows. I grew up in the 80s. My dad smoked. He never opened a window. I
think Jody's a dude. I'm not sure, though. Sorry.
He just smoked in the house.
We didn't mean to misgender you, Jody.
Yeah, sorry. Speaking of misgendering, this next movie has a lot of it, so trigger warnings for anybody. Mm-hmm. One of the killers is, there's a transgender serial killer.
Really? In the Oracle?
Yeah. Yikes. There's like kind of a giallo element of of this character, of them. So get ready.
Lots of problematic trans representations in the 80s. My goodness.
I know, where to begin.
I know, exactly. And occasional bright spots. One of the things that we talked about a little bit during the break was the trans actress who stars in the flashback sequences of Tenebrae. I really love her participation in that film.
We talked about that on a previous episode about how Argento was sort of like, he was on the cutting edge of representation of alternate sexualities in his films. And he treated them sort of, they were characters, but he never really put too much emphasis on their differences. And that was kind of interesting that he felt, comfortable doing that, representing people.
I really love those characters. It's imperfect, of course, but in Deep Red and Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Versus other Jawa where gay characters are presented as mincing or loud, and you know what I mean? It's like comedy figures.
Yeah.
He treats them quite differently.
And to be fair, that gay detective in Four Flies on Grey Velvet is a little bit of a comedy figure.
Yeah. but also, I often think when I'm watching these, like the golden age of those movies is like 71 to 74. So the fact that there's any representation is pretty amazing.
It really, really is. Yeah. Argento doesn't get enough credit, I think, for those choices that were rare at the time.
Yeah. Versus having them be the villains or just someone to laugh at.
Right.
And
well, that's what the American films were doing, especially Dressed to Kill. And a lot of people had a problem with that. Like, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what to say about Dressed to Kill because, I really don't have a place to speak about it. I would love to get somebody's opinion about it who, has a stake in what the representation of trans people were in 1980, because they did that cop-out thing too in Dressed to Kill. It's like, well, he wasn't really trans.
Kind of the multiple personality.
He wasn't. Like, one of his personalities was trans.
Yeah.
Which
was repeated in Raising Cain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
John Lithgow.
And also a movie that completely rips off an Argento shot from Tenebrae at the end of it. Whenever he looks up in the mirror and he's behind him, it's like, and I love that De Palma's like, I never watched any Argento movies. Oh, cool. Where did you get that shot from?
That.
Yeah, nobody. I totally believe that they watch each other's movies like maniacs when they come out and be like, that motherfucker stole it from me.
I hope that's true. I really hope that's true.
They should just get together and have some wine and be friends in this cold time.
Agreed. Life is too short not to be friends.
The other weird article I'd read was that Nancy Allen had tried out for Inferno, and De Palma was upset about it. And he was like, he's really good, but I really don't want you to be in his movies.
Wow. I never heard that story. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I don't, it's maybe apocryphal. I've read it though, and I'm like, think about it. The other day I was thinking about Inferno a lot. I always bring it up on the show, but there's parts of that movie that still baffle me to this day. Like, it's just like, how weird. I can't imagine. I know it didn't really play as much in America as Suspiria, but it's just so foreign and weird in parts of it that it's like, I'd love to be in a full theater when it first came out here. It'd be like, people just like, what the fuck is happening in this movie?
I don't think it did play anywhere in America, did it?
It was supposed to, and then it didn't,
That's a shame. I especially love that opening sequence.
Oh, yeah.
So beautiful.
Unbelievable.
Well,
and it makes zero sense, yet it's utterly convincing because that dream logic is just so powerful.
Of course there's a room down there.
I know.
Of course you can dive into it and see.
And of course she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, of course you're sitting in music class and this girl shows up with a cat.
Oh,
it is
one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema. I want to look at everybody like that with my cat, just wherever I go.
Yeah. And she's just like, why is she there? How does he follow her? And then it transitions that like match cut to his sister in New York and him trying to write to her. Oh, it's fucking awesome. I really dug it.
By the way, if you're just joining us for our second segment, did we properly introduce John McDevitt? Because we got him talking about facets, but I don't have the script that I can put up. No,
So I'll introduce myself again. I am the Madman from I'm Madman, in case anybody didn't see the intro, which, by the way, thank you, Bill, for pairing me with that character, because I'm Madman is a freaking phenomenal film. Huge fan of The Gate as well. And I'm Madman, another low-key Christmas movie.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
It has one of my favorite endings of any movie too. The ending's so awesome.
Truly.
With the stop motion rat boy.
That and the him disappearing, the stuff how he gets turned into stuff. It's so good.
Yeah. And it would have been kind of disappointing not to have a little stop motion after The Gate, because the stop motion of The Gate was so glorious.
Yeah. I really like I'm Madman, and it's always a movie I try to get people to watch, and we've shown it on the show, and it's just such a not talked about movie at all, and it totally should.
Why? It's so well made.
Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you weren't crazy about it, you had to at least have been somewhat captivated by that. I mean, that was pretty amazing.
Really and truly. And there weren't really other horror films like it at that point in time. Yeah. The kind of meta quality of it. Yeah. I just love it. I mean, there are other meta horror films, but nothing quite like I'm Madman.
Yeah. I think if it came out, I don't know if it come out later today, would it do better? I'd like to think it would. Like, people would consider it a little more. It just feels, I don't know if people were ready for it or not.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody for showing up in the chat too. I think I've been ignoring you guys. We've been reacting to some of the things that I managed to see from this distance. This was a challenge to set up like the Dick Cavett set sort of here.
To
have a guest in studio. It's rare that this happens. Sean Midas has been on the show like this before too. He sat opposite me on the couch.
Rebecca asked who the music guest is tonight, Bill.
Candy Apple Blue.
Yeah, Candy Apple Blue. Yoko Ono will be there.
Oh, you mean as if we were a real chat show? Yeah. That would be interesting. Candy Apple Blue did the intro track on our comeback reel. They're a local Pittsburgh synth pop band. Some friends of mine, Carly Emmerich and Hoyt Emmerich. So thanks to Carly and Hoyt for letting us use some Candy Apple Blue music for our intro.
It was really great. I wasn't familiar with it before, but I need to listen to a lot more of this band.
So groovy. So on to our second feature of the evening, which is Roberta Findlay's The Oracle.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yep. So one thing to know before this movie, they actually asked Parker Brothers if they could, who owned Ouija at the time before Hasbro took over, could they use the spirit board? They said no. So that's why you'll see a levitating blue hand that writes stuff out and spells it out, which I love. I think it's even better. And I also love that the actress in this, Carolyn Capers Powers is her name. This is the only movie she's ever been in. I 100% believe she brought all her own clothes for this movie. You guys will know it well. Here's Samantha to grab all her own outfits. She has some wild outfits in this movie. Her and her husband, Ray, move into the apartment of a dead psychic who is left behind the fortune-telling device. And she is taken over by a rich industrialist who has just been killed, who uses her to find the killer. We're in Christmas. Ooh. Yes. And the hand itself can't be destroyed, which is kind of awesome. Bill, you know what I said in my review? I really like to think on this city block, the townhouse from the Sentinel is at one end of the street, and the apartment building from Inferno is at the other side of the street. Somewhere in the middle, the Oracle apartment is. It's just like a wacky occult block here in New York City. Also, there's a real occult shop in here, the Magical Child, which is where the famous Simon Necronomicon, the fake Necronomicon in the 70s, came from. And it is, when you see her in there, it's also in The Scary of 61st, which came out about a year ago. Same shop. is in that. And also, this movie has everything that Bill and I bring to the second movie every show. There is so much screaming in this movie. The second half of this movie is nonstop female screaming, almost as much as a Juan Lopez Montezuma movie. So get ready. We would not let you down. I also refer to this as glorious trash, and a movie that I want to watch with a whole bunch of people. So good news. We're going to watch it. So I'm super excited. It feels like an Italian movie made in the U.S., and it's got a lot of goofiness in it in the best way. As you saw from the trailer, that puppet-like monster. There's seances in it. There's a scene where a guy gets taken over and stabs the monsters off his body. No more spoilers.
Let us know in the chat if this is going to be your first time watching The Oracle. It's going to be my first time. I'm an Oracle virgin.
Same here.
Oh, awesome. Good.
Sam, you've done this to us.
It hits all my boxes, right? It's like female lead, female, F Jalo, kind of sort of. It's a cult. It's New York City. Roberta Findlay, very cheap, down and dirty, fun.
Looks like Darren's seen it, but a lot of other people are saying it's their first time.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. It has too much plot and not enough. That's another thing that I really like in movies, where it's like a lot of ideas, not a lot of budget. Maybe we didn't figure out how to tell the story the right way, but that's how it happens. It's on Tubi, if anyone's looking for the link. And I don't know, Bill, if you have another one.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to drop the link into chat. Don't worry.
Yeah, someone already asked. We're not done yet.
We're nowhere near done yet.
Yeah, we're gonna make a drink.
We haven't even looked at ads or done a drink.
Yeah, someone already asked for it, but yeah. This has like a lot of like people being tracked down and killed, so it's got kind of some slasher elements too. I don't know. It's an amorphous creation. It's whatever you want it to be. The Oracle. I want the Oracle hand for my house, and I just want it just to sit there and write stuff for me. It's got a plume. I need a plume pen for my writing job. That's my next. That's how I know I'm a real writer. An inkwell pen. Yeah, exactly. Something that a cat will completely knock over before it's.
I was going to say, you have too many cats for that kind of shit.
You know what I did today? Becca redid the steps, put carpeting down and repainted them. And one of the cats got out and stood in the paint and then ran all over the basement.
Oh my God.
The day today. And at first I thought there were only like 5 or 6 paw prints. They went all over the room. At least 30 or 40 paw prints.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bad
so
kitty.
it was low.
But that's what good cats are, is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
She's very sweet. I can't get mad at her. But, she didn't know what was going on. She's like, I've been stuck in the garage all day. Why can't I get out? Oh, there's paint? Awesome. People will find this story funny later, which they do. So
that once happened also with one of my cats a long, long time ago, knocking a tiny bottle of my mom's nail polish onto the bathroom floor.
Ooh.
And then stepping in it, and it was over carpeting in my mom's bedroom.
Oh.
And I'm amazed to this day at how far one tiny bottle of pink nail polish can go.
We painted our basement floor once when I was a kid, and our cats redecorated the top of our washing machine.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it's always interesting to have them around, And we thought we had completely fixed the situation. Surely no one would get into paint. Surely they did.
Have you two ever done a cat horror movie double feature? Because that could be really, really fun.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't think we ever did scary cats. Not even the uncanny.
Oh, the uncanny's a little iffy, but I enjoy it for the cats.
Yeah.
There's
Peter
also
Cushing, so terrified of cats in that film.
There's a lot of good Cat's Eye is a good one.
Oh, Cat's Eye is exquisite. So much fun.
Yeah.
Year of the Cat by Al Stewart.
That's one of Becca's favorites. That's her jam. She just yelled in the background. I really like Cozy's The Black Cat too, which is a movie that defies description.
That one I haven't seen yet. I've always heard really good things though.
It's at once a remake of Suspiria and a Edgar Allan Poe movie, uh, and it's got Carol Monroe in it.
Nice.
It also has a refrigerator attack people with food.
Oh, and by the way, there is a Blu-ray release that might be out now. Maybe it came out a couple days ago. Attack of the Killer Refrigerator. That looks incredible.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see it.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's one of the first original Blu-ray releases through TerraVision Records and Video. They also released last month John Russo's Santa Claus, spelled CLAWS, of course. A Pittsburgh film.
Yeah.
Shot in Cricket Square. It's one of my favorites.
It was a blast, and I had never seen it until I bought the Blu-ray, and I had a lot of fun watching it. I want a future Scream Queen coach jacket, just like they give the kid at the end of that movie. And I'm hoping...
Also, I love that the majority of the movie also shows up in Scream Queen Christmas, which is like all the photo shoots in that are the same thing. Like John Russo's a king of recycling footage and getting the most out of the stuff he filmed.
Yeah.
There's also, the Neon Maniacs soundtrack, and they're putting out trading cards for Neon Maniacs too, which is in wax packs, which is amazing. So I'm super excited about that. And a lot of people have been recommending Night of 1,000 Cats. That's good too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was very grateful to my friend Stephanie, who appeared in the chat earlier last summer, because she programmed a screening of Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key.
Ooh.
Another great cat movie.
Satan the Cat.
Yeah, Satan the Cat. Like,
yeah.
Everybody, all of the human characters in that film lose. The winner of that film is a black cat named Satan, and it's incredible.
Yeah. I love that movie, yeah. Yeah, Sleepwalkers, Becca just brought up another good one too.
Sleepwalkers is so much fun.
Why didn't we think of that one first?
I love that they play that like truly lovely Enya song over the end credits.
Yeah.
And wasn't that Mark Hamill as the sheriff who had like a companion cat?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many cats in that film.
Yeah, it's like the cats against incestual aliens, vampire aliens.
And Alice Krika, such an incredible actor.
Yeah.
And she's great in that role, and she's great in everything.
She's the best thing about Ghost Story.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she made a very creepy ghost. I love that veil effect.
I saw Sleepwalkers in the theater. I saw John brought it up. I saw it with someone who I went with was disgusted by the incest, and I had already been watching a lot of Italian movies, so I was like, "What?
We're all adults here.
We're all adults here. Like, let's just watch cats kill aliens."
And it had Shelley Johnson from Twin Peaks. She was very charming in Sleepwalkers.
It also has that scene right in the beginning where the teacher's trying to pick him up, and he just like jams a pencil into his eye. Yeah, who? Otho from Beetlejuice. That's who it is. Yeah, playing the teacher. And I think Pet Sematary counts as a cat movie too.
Oh, absolutely. Love Pet Sematary.
You need to set up like an a cat adoption, cat double feature thing.
That would be lovely. I love that idea. Actually, partnering with an animal shelter to help it benefit some real kitties who need homes.
You're looking at the ad campaign for the Oracle when it played theaters in 1985.
Oh, man.
You may have thought that this was a direct-to-video film, but you'd be wrong. It did get a theatrical release. And this is pretty much the same ad that was always featured. I'm surprised this played. Look, this is in Pittsburgh.
Really?
It played Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow. It played McKnight Cinema.
But I think, did the face disappear in this other
ad? They cut it off.
Gotcha.
I don't know. If you could use that face, you would, but I guess they didn't have the space for it.
Oh, you can kind of see the,
Yeah. Sorry, face. That's the only one you were in. Demonic face. One of the things that I love most about finding these ads is the way some of them are just completely like the contrast is way too high. You can't see anything anymore. I kind of like.
One of the things back in the day, Bill, you had to pull like literally dot patterns of each ad.
Yeah.
And depending on how the paper quality was, it would soak up the black so much that it would blob everything out.
Well said, Mike Justice. The discount Daria Nicoletti. Okay, the face is back, but that's because I only have 3 ads for it, really. If you thought I just pulled these ads out of thin air just now, you were correct. Sam, it looks like you're ready to do the second drink of the evening.
I'm really excited about this drink because it comes from a book that uses tarot cards to make mixed drinks. The Tarot of Cocktails.
Wow.
So I've never tried this before. This is the Princess of Moscow. It's basically a Moscow Mule with more lime juice and lime sherbet.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going super fancy tonight. So we're going to start with ginger beer. Well, ginger beer, no less. Can I hold on to a drink?
Careful, Sam.
Yeah, I know. Becca's right near the room. I might break.
Becca's home, and she's going to see whatever it is you do.
Yep. She's ready. She's watching me like a hawk.
I'm glad she's supervising.
I need it. All right, now we're going to put in some lime juice. And we're going to do 1.5 ounces of chilled vodka, which I already have here. Pre-chilled. How's that light source? There we go.
Looks good.
Finally, the piece de resistance, lime sherbet. I feel like I'm drinking a Bellini here or something. So, let's do it without spilling it, everyone. I'm going to put a little extra sherbet in it because I'm feeling like enjoying this movie. And then, is that fancy enough? No. We're going to put a piece of lime on it too, just for a garnish. And there we go.
That is one I would drink. That looks gorgeous. I bet it tastes amazing.
Oh, let's find out. Pazuzu, everybody.
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu.
It does taste very good. I'm very excited about it. I like lime. I like ginger beer. I like sherbet. There you go. Put them all together.
Uh-oh, Vivi is photobombing us again.
Oh, no.
She's just got to have her moment on camera.
Ready for her close.
She's got a new friend.
So we got a little time to kill. What else should we talk about here? Roberta Findlay?
We could tease what's coming up next week.
Oh, that's a good idea, Sam Panico. Jeff Jordan was on the right track when he said cats next week, but wrong animal.
A different animal. Only one movie next week.
Yeah. Next weekend is going to be a late feature only, a late movie only. So it'll be a single movie at 11 p.m. next Saturday night, and it's a killer animal in the water.
Yeah.
No, it is not Night of the Lepus, Mike Justice. As much as I love Janet Leigh and a bunch of giant rabbits, it's not Night of the Lepus. We should do that movie.
It's not tentacles either. I know a lot of people might like it to be tentacles. It's not tentacles.
Tentacles is too long to do for a late movie.
Tentacles is a movie that would shut people out. Like, it's 11. Tentacles needs to be watched in the daytime, I think.
Steve Wilson
it's not
guesses
late at
Orca.
night, Tentacles in the daytime.
Steve Wilson said, Orca, no, you are not going to see Bo Derek's leg get bitten off next weekend.
Growing up, there was an Orca ad on every Marvel comic that whole summer. And to the point where I was like insane about Orca. I had to see it. My dad's like, you don't want to see it. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Dan Sitch is on the right track.
He is.
So what will it be? You'll have to come back for the third segment and see.
Yeah, there'll be a trailer and you'll get to see it and you're like, oh man. You'll either be super excited or super let down. It's not Killer Fish with irrepressible Margot Hemingway. If only. So, thanks for noticing. Yeah, the Q ginger beer. I'm trying to get sponsored for the drink stuff. We got to start doing this more, Bill, where we bring out the brands. Turn out
I
the
know.
label.
Call us.
Yeah.
We're cheap.
Yeah. We can be like NASCAR. We'll run logos all over this show. Would you like to sponsor the Vivi segment? You can donate food for her.
Oh,
You're seeing the real her now. She's exposing her vulnerable underbelly.
Yeah.
She's such a sweetheart. Just a big fluffy ball of love.
The first minute that John walked into the Drive-In Asylum studios here, she was all over.
Running up and down the stairs like wild. Didn't know what to do with herself. Couldn't contain the excitement.
So a little bit about Roberta Findlay, right?
Yeah, we should, before we go into the movie.
Wrote and was a cinematographer for a lot of movies she worked on with her husband. We showed one already, Shriek of the Mutilated, from 1974. Also Snuff, which is probably, I would say, the best. If you people ask, like, what do we know her for? Snuff's one. But after, in the 80s, she directed a lot of stuff on her own, like Lurkers, Primeval, which I really like, Blood Sisters, which I super like, The Tenement, The Oracle. They're all similar budgets, shot around the same places in New York. Very similar kind of feel to her movies. They're cheap, but is cheap a bad thing? I don't think so. I think we've learned that. Hopefully you've learned that by now. And yeah, it's funny. They say that her work has received a more critical, more people into it than when she was actually making them. Her husband died in 1977 in a helicopter accident. That's when she started making her own films after that. Also worked in adult, obviously, both appearing and directing films.
What were some of her adult films?
Her Flesh
The
trilogy.
Touch of Her Flesh.
Or Kiss of Her Flesh, yeah. There's those, as well as she directed The Altar of Lust, Every Inch a Lady, Angel Number 9, and Liquid Assets, and the S's are spelled with dollar signs, which it's kind of like Dallas. That's from 82. I would assume that's right from Dallas. But I would say I really like her late 80s to 90s. Kind of, they all are kind of based around very occult themes. Tenement's really good. Tenement's almost like a Death Wish 3 kind of apartment building invasion. I mentioned the guys in between. She claims that movie is based on her teen years. If you've seen Tenement, it's a frightening movie. I hope that's not how she grew up, but yeah. She's also quite given to making fun of everything she's done, saying that her movies sucked, even in her commentary tracks, saying, why would people buy this? I don't know if that's kind of a character more than hopefully how she feels. I think there's some quality to her films.
This was the first of 4 horror films that she did. In fact, she mostly worked in adult and exploitation films. Only, like we said, she was a camera operator on Shriek of the Mutilated and a couple other horror films, but she wasn't really a genre icon. But this was the first of 4 horror films she did. Blood Sisters, Lurkers, and Primeval. All done. This was the first in 1985, so she worked into the early 90s.
You'll really like Lurkers, Bill. It's about a girl who has some kind of occult moment in her past or her family's past, and it is like haunting her. And it's interesting. It's very weird. And it's kind of like almost like a pre Jacob's Ladder kind of feeling movie.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's good. And their horror movies from that era are very easy to find. I think they're almost every one of them are on Tubi. So I know Tenement definitely is because I just watched it on there again.
Aren't there 2 different versions of it though?
I think there's one that has even more stuff in it.
Yeah, there's like a really brutal version of it, and then there's an R-rated cut.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting that around the same time the Canadian movie Siege came out, which is very similar, where there's like a gang attacking a building. It's kind of like an assault on Precinct 13 kind of situation, which, as we forgot to mention, the end, there's a big chunk of the Suckling that gets kind of John Carpenter, where everybody's stuck inside the same room and kind of barricading themselves and the monsters outside. So, yeah, Siege is really good. As well as also Siege has really heroic and like well-rounded out gay characters, which is very odd for the time from when it came from the mid 80s. A good Canadian movie that Severin put out.
What year was that from?
I want to say, Chris will tell me, I'm sure, before I get to say it. But I want to say 86. 83. Also known as, and it's on Tubi if you want to check that out too. Also known as Self-Defense is the other title. New Line actually distributed that in the U.S. But that's on there as well. But yeah, and don't go in expecting the biggest budget movie you've ever seen. Don't you know what kind of movies I like. You've been watching the show long enough. You know what kind of movies I'm going to recommend.
Well, I like the lower budget movies because the lower budget forced the filmmakers to be more creative. Yeah. That's what's exciting when you watch a movie and you see a lot of like the heart and soul that was put into these.
I agree. And also I mean, God, I picked Troll 2 a couple weeks ago. Obviously, you kind of know where my taste level's at, right? It's like I love when people are like, that movie was dumb. I'm like, okay, but was it really? Like, what was dumb about it? It was cheap and maybe it wasn't fully, realized to the effects level or story you want. But was it boring? Was it, what redeeming qualities did it have? And that's always what I try to think of.
So I dropped a link to our second feature in the chat several times. Hopefully by now you've received it. It's going to be The Oracle from 1985. It's on YouTube. It's on Tubi. If you can't just copy and paste the link, you can go find it on your own. It's not hard. And our special guest host tonight, John McDevitt. John, will you be on the third segment? That's the question of the evening.
I will. Yes. I'm very excited to be here. I want to stay to the end.
Awesome.
Fantastic. And we certainly hope you will return to talk to us about The Oracle. I'm sure there will be some trauma we will have to talk out in the third segment. And after so many of these, who knows what's going to come out of our mouths on the third segment. So you don't want to miss any of that. The Driving Asylum double feature.